Hang on. Yay, now we are! Bem-vindos ao Imprensa Marrom, meu nome é Cristina Marrom e hoje eu estou com Paul Hardy. Paul, por que as pessoas deveriam escutar o que você tem para dizer? Explica para elas que você é brilliant.
Olá, tudo bem? E como vai? Thank you for inviting me to talk today. My job is I work in development for a range of different channels and brands internationally. And I'd love to share with you some of my personal experiences of taking pictures and seeing from the other side of the table. I used to be a producer, I used to pitch, and it's really a really interesting experience I've had years now of seeing common mistakes, quite simple ones that I just love to share with everybody and give everybody out there the best opportunity they can to get the people with the money interested in their concepts.
O Paul, além de ser gente boa, bonito, legal, interessante, ele tem uma experiência muito louca, porque ele é inglês e ele trabalhou nos Estados Unidos e trabalha na Europa, então ele está acostumado a receber para o History Any Lifetime, porque ele é a pessoa chefão dessa área para todos esses canais do nosso grupo, e ele está acostumado a receber pitches e tratamentos, então ele consegue dar muitas dicas boas, valiosas, e ele vai ensinar várias cagadas a serem evitadas nesse vídeo. Então prestem atenção. Paul, go ahead and shine.
Okay, so these are 7 golden rules which people tend to do. Number 1, don't only have one idea. You are a creative machine. You should know that your passion for one idea has to be translated to lots of ideas, because if you just go in with one and they don't like it, they're going to want to hear something else. Number 2, and I always I think I've stolen this quote from Einstein, who said, if you're talking to a child and he or she doesn't understand your concept, then you don't understand it. You need to apply that to the pitching process. It's really super true that you must be able to describe your quite complicated idea in one sentence. You have to capture people's attention. They have to know what the premise is that they're buying into, because ultimately 6 months, a year later down the line, your concept, your idea, your production you've worked on is going to be delivered to the public, and they will only be able to hear about it in one sentence, more or less.
Hang on, just to remind people. Gente, então, a primeira coisa que ele falou é de ter mais de uma ideia. Não se apaixonar só por uma ideia, porque essa uma única ideia pode não ser a sua galinha dos ovos, entendeu? Pode ser e pode não ser, mas é legal você ter mais de uma. E quando você for fazer esse pitching, é bacana você ter 2 ou 3 ideias, no máximo 3, para também não perder as pessoas. E aí, Paul, do you want to add anything about pitchings, not doing more than 3 pitches at the time?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I always say 3 to 5 maximum, because, you know, you have an executive that sits and takes pictures all day, and it would be a critical shame to try and wear them out, because you may have 10 really good ideas. You can have another meeting, establish a relationship. 3 is ideal, 5 is good. But I would advise people to not do more than that, because also, what if they have lots and lots of questions about one of the ideas? You don't want to waste your time with that executive. Yeah, 3 is perfect, I would say.
E o segundo conselho dele era sobre ser simples, conseguir traduzir a sua grande ideia, mesmo que seja complicado o seu programa, para uma criança. Se você consegue traduzir isso e passar a sua ideia de uma maneira simples, é perfeito. E esse conselho dele também serve para pitching de elevador. Paul, idea number 3.
Number 3, I'm glad you're keeping me on track with my numbers. This is something we see in the United States. Now, I know that people don't have a tremendous amount of resources, but you're going to need to employ your own very special form of creativity here. We see a lot of concepts where people use YouTube clips, TV shows, and movies. One thing to bear in mind is that if you have an idea to describe, the executives in the room are going to look at that movie and go, oh, I remember this one. What was that movie? And then they might start having a conversation trying to guess what the movie is. And it would be a real shame to get their brains going in that direction when you want to keep their brains focused on the concept. So simplicity is really paramount. However you do that, I don't have the magic formula. What I know from my own experience is that when you use, and the other thing to do sometimes is never use a TV clip from a show from the network that you're pitching at. That happens a lot of time because what it shows is you haven't really done your research to the person that you're pitching with. And that happens more often than not.
Gente, esse conselho é bom porque a gente não tem, em geral, as produtoras, pelo menos as brasileiras, não tem muito dinheiro para sair e gravar um piloto, gravar um mega promo legal, e aí a gente usa imagens de outros programas, filmes e tal, para poder criar um monstro daquilo que explica a ideia, o seu conceito, enfim, a linguagem que você quer usar. O que o Paul está falando é legal de prestar atenção, que muitas vezes você pode prender a atenção dos seus interlocutores ali, as pessoas que você está apresentando o projeto, porque eles podem falar, eu já vi esse filme, onde é que eu vi, não sei o quê, e começar uma discussão paralela e se perder. Então, esse é um ponto de atenção.
Number 4, and this is a very good message in the global world of ideas and storytelling. Very often, most of us find ourselves in the position of pitching to particularly executives from the United States. So bear in mind, we're a global world, we're all important players, but very often they've got a bit more money than any of us have to play with. It's one of our industry realities. The country that you're from is very interesting if you are from that country. When you are pitching an idea, you have to put that almost to the back of your mind and go in with a good idea, and bear in mind that the person that you're looking at may or may not know anything about your country or be interested. Why is this idea good for the entire world, and particularly for the people in America? It is just a fact. Bear it in mind. Don't worry about it too much, but you know, things like, well, this got percentage or share of our TV show. This is more the, you know, finished products, but you know, we produced this show, it was a hit show in our country, may or may not be interesting to that executive. Kind of tongue-in-cheek, but also there is an element of very, very harsh reality there as well.
Mas é bem legal. This is a very good advice. Gente, isso é muito, muito importante, se colocar no papel, quando você estiver apresentando para players americanos, entender se aquele projeto, aquela ideia, realmente é relevante globalmente, entendeu? Porque muitas vezes aquela região ou país que você vem, a pessoa nem sabe nada a respeito e não está interessada em descobrir.
Unfortunately, I know. Number 5, there is a phrase many people use to open a pitch, and it's one to be really careful of because you need to back it up. And it's when people, and these tend to be with non-fiction ideas, people very often say, this is a craze that's sweeping the nation. Now, it really has to be a craze that is sweeping the nation. Uber, that was a craze that swept the nation. The sharing experience, meaning Airbnb, these are the things that had a radical shape up on the way that we lead our lives, and many, many people in many countries in the world were doing. And then I've seen other ideas that are a bit more marginal and were great articles in a local newspaper or The Guardian.
Like what?
Like what?
Like, yeah, which one?
Well, for example, I saw yesterday something that really captured my attention in The Guardian, which was, you know, people are no longer having threesomes, they're having sex with robots. I thought, well, that's an amazing article, but it's not, I don't really believe that's something that's sweeping the nations. So just be really mindful.
Not yet.
Not yet, who knows? Maybe that is the new Uber of sex, but we shall see. The 5th one that sounds really obvious, but it's a really, really important message is, what am I watching? I see lots of great concepts that are great to talk about. They are probably amazing books or articles or theoretical, but what are you actually seeing? Now, to give you a concrete example of what I mean.
Hang on. So just so people don't lose track, number 5 was to keep real, like don't start a pitch with something that's not real.
Well, not real, but not that it's, if you say many people are doing this, make sure you know that it is something that, this comes in preparing for your pitch, you know, because that has to be a story that's going to be appealing to lots and lots and lots of people, because everybody suddenly recognizes that they're all sharing a common experience. If it's not a common experience, it's going to be a real struggle for a network to get behind it and say, you know, you're either going to have a proposition which is, wow, how strange that these people do this, but it's better to have a concept going, wow, yeah, we're all doing this rather than this, or this is a change that's affecting the world. I think that's what I mean.
Perfeito. E aí o número 6, number 6.
Number 6, what am I watching? Be mindful that when you're in a room, you are selling a concept. It is conceptual, it's an idea, and it's being discussed. Eventually, this is going to be a living, breathing story, and you have to be able to articulate in very, very creative terms what the viewer is going to watch on the platform. How is the story going to captivate their imagination, not as words, but as moving images and a story? I'll give you an example. In the History Channel experience, we get pitched a lot of, and they're very interesting concepts. What if this had happened rather than this had happened? How would the world look? Now, those are incredibly interesting stories. We all like to think, well, if this person had become president rather than this person, or this had happened rather, wonderful to discuss, really interesting, very difficult to make as a piece of content. I would be amazed if someone could pitch to me how they do that, but ultimately you don't have any materials. You're going to have to, there's nothing exists because it didn't happen. Whereas if you go back in time, there's archive, there's footage very often, there's pictures, there's descriptions, a whole wealth of materials that can help you tell the story. So that's just something to be really, really mindful of. Is this a good piece of content or is it a good article in a newspaper?
Tá, então, gente, é importante, quando você estiver fazendo um pitching, quando você estiver criando mesmo o conceito do seu programa, entender aquilo como um programa de TV, como pedaço de entretenimento e não como um artigo. Você ter certeza que você consegue fazer com que aquilo seja visualmente viável e que todo mundo consiga entender o seu conceito.
You'll know there are 2 physical signs to be mindful of when you've pitched a concept that they're not seeing as a TV show. Either the room is completely quiet, no one's saying anything, or worse is when you see executives going like this and they physically start moving because it looks like they're getting agitated because they're not understanding how it's a TV show. I'm sure you must have seen that as well.
I saw that, and it's horrible. When it's silence, I feel so bad for the person. I want to hug the producer, like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Well, hopefully these pieces of advice will be helpful to prevent that. I think I'm on number 7 here, and this is a really interesting little secret which I'd love to share. When you go in with your pitches, you will have done your research, you know the executive you're meeting, you know the channel or the platform that you're reaching, and you probably have some idea of the kind of content they're looking for. Why not take in one idea that is just something that you absolutely love, that you really want to make, and you're really passionate about, and at the end of the meeting, say to the executive, because they invariably will say to you, so do you have anything else? And you should always say, well, we have this other idea. It's kind of crazy and, you know, it'll never be made and it's probably not for you. And I guarantee they will be really, really interested in it because very often ideas come out of nowhere. There could be a network that is going in this direction and then suddenly they decide to do this other idea that is just an incredible idea. And that's where enormous amounts of creative leaps come from. It's risky, but you have nothing to lose. They can either go, okay, it's too crazy. It might be the reverse psychology. It might be, and I think this is probably the most important thing, demonstrating that you're really passionate about making film, making documentaries, telling stories. And that, and I'd love to kind of finish on this, passion and is infectious. It's more important than anything else. I don't care about your paper that you prepared. I'm not looking at that in the room. I even don't mind if you don't have all the answers in the room. I'm buying into your passion as a storyteller. I know and I get excited by people being excited about what they're bringing me. And you can see it and you can feel it. It's that magic, intangible, extra thing that, you know, wakes people up. And if that person and the producer and the creatives do it in the room, I'm going to be really interested in, as a commissioner, and going, this is an experience that's going to be wonderful for it. That enthusiasm and infectious spirit, we can capture that and put that in our project. It's really why I continue to do what I do. You see it every now and again, and it's really tangible. And that's the most important thing. Passion is really important.
It is. I love it. Oh my God. You cheeky monkey. You are teaching them how to trick us in the last advice.
Well, now now the cat's out of the bag. Everyone will be doing it, and no one will. Maybe I've ruined the secret, but I think perhaps that isn't. I think that it's worth a try. But I do really believe that the passion is the most important thing.
And you ended perfectly. Thank you so much. Oh my God, I love it.
Really difficult job that we're all doing. We're a community. We're all in it together. We've all been through similar experiences, and we'll continue to do so. But I'm glad to share any advice I can.
Yay, thank you so much.
I love you. Krishna, you're amazing, and I wouldn't do this for anyone else in the world.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.